got no plans at all. Evil man's always transcending. Fighter like sheep, swallow everything. Always simpletons or pretending.
This is your moment of clarity from LeeCamp.net. This is also part one of a special two-part good news episode. Sometimes you have to do it, right? Sometimes you have to talk about the good stuff. Sometimes you have to just Mr. Rogers it up and change your sweater and your shoes, slap on a silly grin, and make awkward sexual advances at puppets, right? Sometimes you have no choice. Sometimes it's a necessary evil, and puppets are usually pretty good at keeping their mouths shut, as long as you have a needle and thread handy. Although if you don't have a needle and thread, puppets are actually really bad at keeping secrets because their mouth is the only orifice they have, so they never shut the fuck up. 10 minutes in a police interrogation room and they sing like a goddamn songbird. So now I'm facing 2 felonies and a misdemeanor just for sticking my hand in a sock when he hadn't technically consented. But that's my life, so let's move on. Point is, good news. Sure, there's a lot of bad news out there, but there's a lot of encouraging news too. There's a lot of impressive people standing up around the world, like the people in North Carolina protesting as part of Moral Mondays, in which they tell the far-right government that denying science and denying a woman's right and denying a worker's right and denying everyone's right is not okay. In fact, it's the end of everything that was great about America. I mean, they even passed a law to make it illegal to consider climate science. Literally, they passed a bill saying coastal towns cannot prepare for rising sea levels. But you can't, there's no, how? That doesn't stop the sea level from fucking rising. You can drop an agreement telling your cockatoo she can no longer shit in your bed, but you can't act surprised when you find bird shit in your bed. And the people of North Carolina are willing to get arrested on a weekly basis to stand up against this insanity. Same in Wisconsin, where they have suddenly decided there can no longer be singing in the Capitol building because freedom of speech does not include harmonizing. You'll recall that law goes back to the barbershop bombardiers in the 1930s. The bombing was allowed, but the catchy little ditties ultimately got them locked away. And the bold people in Wisconsin, everyday people who are moms and teachers and coaches and farmers, they're willing to get arrested to stand up against the Republican greed monkey desecration of our society that has been facilitated by the Democratic greed monkeys. Because if there's one thing a greed monkey loves, it's another greed monkey. And in Colombia, there's a nationwide strike led by farmers in order to protest the privatization and trade deals that are destroying their livelihood. More and more people are realizing that quote-unquote free trade is a code phrase meaning stab democracy through the heart and then throw it in the trunk of your car until such time as you can dump its lifeless, rotting body on the side of a highway off-ramp. So every time you hear free trade, you should substitute it in your mind with stab democracy through the heart and then throw it in the trunk of your car until such time as you can dump its lifeless, rotting body on the side of a highway off-ramp. Well, I don't have time to go into every example, but people are standing up against racism in America, against LGBT persecution in Russia, against oil company destruction in Canada, and Monsanto masturbation around the world. In part 2 of this good news double episode, I'll get into some of the technological breakthroughs that are helping to save the planet from the ravenous profit pimps and the army of cyborg people who say to themselves, if I don't do this job, somebody else will do this job, so I might as well do it, and hopefully my kids won't ask me what I do, and if they do ask me, I'll tell them, Daddy helps the country find money and energy to pillage your future. That's been your moment of clarity from LeeCamp.net. The music here at the end is called Slave Song, and it's by Michael Anderson. That info will be in the description, as well as the links to the articles of the stuff I talked about. Go to popularresistance.org to learn more about protesting for a better world. And lastly, Moment of Clarity survives only by your memberships. So go become a sustaining member at LeeCamp.net. It takes 2 minutes and will ensure Moment of Clarity continues. Keep fighting, man.
We're owned and controlled like cattle in a field, sold from birth, our future life sealed. To work as slaves in this world.